everybody. Randy Patterson here with Boomerocity. And this episode, we have someone who's a multi-threat. And what I mean by that, she frequents the stage, the screen, the TV screen, and also on record. And that's what we are talking about with Melissa Errico about her new album, I Can Dream, Can I? You may have recognized her with her work with Robert Vaughn, on stage with Alec Baldwin. Her husband is Patrick McEnroe, brother of John McEnroe. So she's been around. You've seen her in all sorts of high-profile places, maybe even places like Carnegie Hall or some of the cool jazz clubs over in Europe. She's an amazing singer, actress, and we talked to her about this album. I think you're going to love what she has to say. Lots of stories. Very intriguing person to talk to. So why don't you, while I've got your attention, won't you go ahead and go online and buy her record? Because I think you're really going to like it, especially if you love songs from the American Songbook. And of course, Ted Firth does an amazing job on keyboards backing her up. As always, I ask that while you're listening to this interview, would you hit like? And if you're not already a Boomerocity subscriber on this channel, please just hit subscribe. I'm not going to charge you an extra penny for it, but it does help us out tremendously. So without any further ado, here is what is my first interview with what I trust to be many more interviews to come with Melissa Errico. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Take care. There she is.
Hello, good man.
I saw you come in and then go out and come back in again.
But I had to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
And I debated, look at your backdrop. Are you trying to, you're going to butter me up big time.
Well, that's what it's all about, isn't it? So.
Oh, goodness. I've been waiting
You're
to live
welcome.
my whole life. Finally.
I'll be happy to send it to you if you'd like to use it in the future. So it's.
Oh my God, I would.
It would be my gift to you. So.
I don't know how you even did that. It's so cool. Thank you.
Well, I'd be happy to do it. Just let me know where to send it and I'll do it. I can route it through your PR people or wherever else you'd like to do it. And it's easy to use with Zoom. So.
Oh, it's so great. Yeah, send it to them. I mean, though you're welcome to come over for Thanksgiving too. So, remind me, is this on camera?
It's on camera, but it's being recorded. It's not live. We're not doing a live stream or anything.
Assess, I had a lot of interviews today, actually, and I was waiting.
Deal.
Yeah, no, yeah, good for me, right? And I like the kind of atmosphere, but I don't know if you find it too bright, the sunlight.
Well, it's a little. There you go, right there.
Yeah, yeah, because you know the afternoon light is so pretty here. I could actually lower the blinds.
Where are you clicking in from?
Like Yonkers area. We live in New York.
Okay, all right. I didn't know if you were there or in California. But,
No, I live in Manhattan, but I live just north of Manhattan. I just don't tell anyone because I have a stalker.
Oh no.
Oh,
I've believe it or not, little old me, have had one or two of those myself over the years.
No, I know. I feel the
They're
same.
unnerving. They're very
I know. I feel like
unnerving.
I've skipped success and I've got all the problems of success.
Yeah, well, me too. That's
It's like great, you know?
yeah.
Sign me up. Okay, I think the light is more in control now for you. It has
All
a
right,
little
looks great.
atmosphere. I think a little sunlight on my hair is not the end of the world.
It's a nice accent there. So I've got my blinds open, but I don't have direct sunlight. I'm in the Smoky Mountains of East Tennessee, so.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it is. I tell everybody this, I'm about 1.5 miles, 2 miles up from Dollywood. So there you have it. But
I love I always tell the same story about her, which is someone says to her, you know, how long does it take to do your hair? And she goes, I don't know. I'm never there.
yeah. Takes a lot of money to look that cheap and all of that.
Oh, that's funny. That's a good line.
Yep.
That's a good line.
We love her around here. She's been great for the economy. I've only lived here 12 years, and I'll probably be moving in the foreseeable future. I was my dad's caretaker, and he passed away a week ago Sunday, and
Oh,
so I've got the estate to take care of. My sister and I do, but he was 89, and he had a great life, and last 2 years was with dementia, but it's that was actually in some ways the more fun part. Some of the stuff that come out of his mouth. Whew. A lot of fun. So,
yeah.
well, hey, I am so thrilled to be talking to you. When this came across my radar and started digging into your career and stuff, I got, speaking of my dad, he and I, when I was little, we used to watch Man from Uncle, and watch that short film you did with Robert Vaughn. And oh my
Mhm.
gosh, what a great movie. Talking about a surprise ending, how you just turned around and walked off, left the money sitting there. Wow, what a story. So,
What a story. I loved working with him. I love that. I mean, I've loved everything I've done. I've spent a lifetime doing something creative. Um, Gosh, I don't remember a bored day. So I don't do bored. You
I
know,
don't do it well.
no,
So,
I don't do bored. Yeah.
but looking across your career, what fascinates me about it, Melissa, is how diverse it is. You're not anchored into one little slot, and whatever you do very well. Unlike some people that they're excellent in one area and then they want to branch out, and then people kind of say, well, keep your day job because that's where you're better at. But with you, whether it's recording music, which we're going to talk about, or your uh, movie and TV credits and your Broadway credits and all that, I mean, it's you're the full package of talent there. Give those who are not very familiar with you a kind of an elevator speech, if you will, about you, your career, and what you do for fun.
All right, fair enough. So the elevator story of me is I was a 12-year-old girl who was a gymnast. I grew up in an Italian American family. My family from Brooklyn, they were the children of immigrants. So to my core, on both sides, I am Italian. I'm an Italian citizen. So I grew up in an Italian family. My parents were both artistic, and neither of them felt free to pursue an artistic life. My father was a concert pianist, and he went to Yale University as a scholarship student and was a piano major. He then was drafted to Vietnam. My father's Vietnam experiences, I think, were really awful. And my father and mother were connected by the music of Michel Legrand that was popular in the 60s. There was a
Mhm.
song called I Will Wait for You. If it takes forever, I will wait for you. And I would watch for 1,000 summers, I will wait for you. And I would see her cry, and there was a wound there, there was a trouble. And the music was a salve, was a release, and it was joyful as well. Michel Legrand wrote Windmills of Your Mind. He wrote The Summer Knows. He wrote a lot of sexy, beautiful music. Barbara Streisand won an Oscar for their music. The music of Michel Legrand was just one of those things I grew up with. So that's the base, the foundation of my family. We have a Italian American family with frustrated artists. My father became a doctor, and this obsession really with this French and romantic jazz inflected music. I grew up hyper girl, love to delight everybody. I'm a middle child. I always wanted everybody happy. I was easy to deal with. I was a straight A student, and I did everything I could to make everybody happy. That's the kind of girl I am. Musical theater likes people like me. We are boundlessly energetic, and I had a lot of natural skill for musical theater. And by the time I was 12, I went from gymnastics camp to theater camp, and I got all the leading parts and everything. I got a television show. By 18, I was playing Cosette in Les Mis, the musical. I went to Yale. I dropped out. I went back, but I starred on Broadway in 3 musicals like right away. At 22, I was starring in My Fair Lady on Broadway. So
Wow.
suddenly I went from being a gymnast doing cartwheels in Long Island in an Italian house, just like constant, to being on Broadway. It was like 10 years that passed. So I had a wonderful and quick ascension to a lot of success. As anyone who has endurance like me knows, that's a good thing and that can be a bad thing.
Mm.
It can have its highs and its pluses and minuses. I'm no stranger to disappointment and to understanding. I was very lucky, and maybe I didn't always know how lucky I was, but I had a lot of pressure on me as well to succeed. And I was disappointed when High Society didn't, which was another big Broadway show. I was disappointed when that wasn't a big hit. That was a Cole Porter musical. And though the musical, I did get good reviews, the musical did not succeed. I was signed that year because it was a jazz musical. Bing Crosby had done the movie.
Mhm.
This is a long time in the elevator. It's a very big building. Bing
Take
Crosby,
your
Frank
time.
Sinatra. Hopefully it holds the into. Hopefully, he's just throw it out. So I'm on Broadway doing this jazz musical, High Society, which had been done for film with Bing Crosby and Frank Sinatra. A jazz label in New York City came to see the show to do the cast album, and that was Bruce Lundvall, the great impresario of Blue Note Records.
Mhm.
And so while one dream wasn't quite working, like that show and the next amazing thing, which every actor is kind of judged by their latest thing, I was very disappointed the show didn't succeed. And may I have the opportunity to go back in time, I wish I'd said, but look at all the good that came out of it. Because all the good that came out of it is that I was signed to a record label. And then I started making music with Bruce Lundvall's support and oversight, working with great jazz musicians. It is as if the world went like this. And I always thought I should be over here as well as over here, but you can't be over, you can't, right? But another world opened up. I stayed on this path. I ended up working for Michel Legrand, Stephen Sondheim, and doing more and more musicals in ensuing years. But I took my albums and my recording consistently seriously. And now that I have children, that road is really paved with beautiful trees and colorful flowers, and I'm very much there. I may go back to Broadway at some point, but for now, I'm really on a path that's become not a compromise, but a beautiful, it's a beautiful forest and beautiful garden really, and I'm quite happy and making albums. So I'm making records, doing concerts, raising my children, and maybe someday there'll be a bridge back to the other life. But I'm quite happy where I am. So that, I think that's what brings me to you.
What do you, I've heard a lot of people talk about where when they've been on stage in Broadway or, you know, closer to music, but more precise would be like with orchestras and such. Like
Mhm.
heard Joe Bonamassa talking about how when he worked with a particular orchestra on stage live, pressure was on because everything had to be precise. Do you feel like your Broadway training made you much more precise in your work and more efficient in the studio and more at
Yes,
ease on the stage when you were doing concerts?
I'll tell you, Broadway prepares you well for the symphony world. I do not find it terrifying that 100 people, you cannot, miss a bar or else you'll all be on the wrong place. And the singer is always a part of the group. You are never leading a jazz ensemble. It is symphonies is very disciplined. I'm very comfortable doing that. What you don't get with symphonies is you can't have all the freedom that I've developed in
Right.
spending the last decade in jazz clubs. I've been touring jazz clubs all over the place. I even got to the point of opening for George Benson at the Montreal Jazz
Wow.
Festival. Yes, and I was, singing Michel Legrand's music with Barbara Streisand's own piano player, who also is the musical director for George. And it's the
Hmm.
funkiest men ever. And you put me, a sort of soprano, but now I've learned a lot about jazz. They go, they're playing. The drummer says, "Can I funk this up?" I said, "Yes, you can funk this up.
Please do.
Please do." And I'm out there in an arena opening for George Benson, doing a bilingual concert in Montreal and having the time of my life. That freedom didn't come from symphonies. That freedom came from a decade in jazz clubs.
Ah, yeah.
I was loose. You can change the music, you can play a solo. I've been in Singapore, I've been in Paris, I've been in the London clubs, I've played St. Louis and Vegas and all the, I play Birdland for 20 years, but I have a Valentine's residency for 4 years. And that's ten performances straight. I mean, you don't even know what day it is after a while. It's like two shows a day. You literally feel like you get out of bed, you put on your gown, you go back. That creates a kind of, you really so relaxed, to be honest. It's just a sense of being relaxed with the musicians, and it's playful. I love it. I love the drummers. I love the bass. These guys are like my brothers now, and a few sisters. I love the clubs. And I've been studying Barbara Streisand's work, and she says she's sorry that a lot of singers don't play the clubs. That's how she started.
Yep.
Of course, she
Why do you
jumped, you know.
Yeah, she went to the stratosphere from there. I mean, but clubs, you're much closer to the response and you're more immersed into the vibe. People, you're not protected from the good or the bad comments, because you can, and a lot of times in more intimate clubs, you're hearing what's going on. You feel how they're responding to your performance and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is that not the case?
Yeah, you live in your body in a certain way. You're not pushing, projecting. You don't have all there's not too much. Basically, if you can learn yourself, your voice, your music, and really get in the songs and know them well from years of repetition, then when they put you on stage at the Montreal Jazz Festival, you just stay true to yourself and let the big microphone and the guy with the iPad and all the people, everything, and the lights, and your hair looks a little better. Don't change.
Yeah.
Don't change. Stay connected to the beat. Stay connected to your voice, And so I feel like it's been a wonderful evolution. Making albums, performing now in jazz clubs, symphonies, 7-piece jazz band. I've put together different evenings. This year I worked for Gary Sinise and the Doughboy Foundation in Washington, and made a evening that looked at the music of the First World War and early jazz. And we had a 7-piece ensemble. It was beautiful, jazz clarinet, and it was amazing. So different size ensembles. And what's interesting for the final touch of the elevator pitch is that in 2016, I'm just hitting the 10th year. In 2016, interviews like this, maybe some of them went well. The New York Times called me at home, and they said, "You have been in the business in such faceted ways for so long. We think you could write for the New York Times about
Oh,
what it's
fun.
like an inside baseball type of thing. If you're a
Yeah,
baseball
yeah.
player." Yeah, and I have been doing that. It's called Scenes from an Acting Life, and I've written articles about travel. One called "Girl Singer on the Road," Michel Legrand's obituary when he passed, and auditions, sexism in musicals, and different topics. And it's been fun, and it's not that dissimilar from doing an intimate nightclub act. You're just sharing who you are and putting it into words. So I'll just go along, and then I'll think, oh, this would make a great story, like a Nora Ephron type thing. You know how she used to write those stories, like she wrote things like "I hate my neck," and she would write about her neighbors, or about trying to buy an apartment in New York, whatever. Something hits you and you go, this whole thing is so crazy, I should write it down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've been doing that as well. So I'm kind of being billed as a sort of writer singer, or singer writer, which is kind of fun.
I enjoy writing, and I want to ask you something about the Times gig there in a moment. I hope I can remember to ask you, but because I didn't write this part down. But going back to the venues you've played, the various sizes and such, is there a venue, or has there been a venue that intimidates you? Because I know when I hear artists, I'm not a musician, I'm not a performer, unless you call this stuff performing. I don't, I don't really know. I mean, I can only empathize with what you and your peers do and put up with. But I've heard artists talk about different venues, even different recording studios have kind of a patina to it, or a vibe, a spirit, whatever you want to call it. I like to call it a patina, especially when you get to Muscle Shoals. There's just it's almost like, you know, uh, with silver that tarnishes just right, and you hurt it by cleaning it, type of thing. Where so in that same kind of vein, are there any venues that intimidate you when you go there, or you feel like you've got to ratchet up your prep and your stamina, your confidence level at all?
Yeah, I mean, well, the two venues that well, three venues that it's almost like the my husband's a tennis player. I'm married to Patrick McEnroe, and I think
Hmm.
of the kind of the Grand Slam that I've been able to accomplish, which was Carnegie Hall, the
Yeah.
Grand Rex in Paris, and then
Mm.
Cadogan Hall in London. Each
Wow.
time I've had opportunities, and then I did do Salle Pelletier in Montreal. There's probably the fourth is up for debate, which one that would be for the Grand Slam. But when when you walk through the famous doors of Carnegie Hall, like I'd like to do it for I look forward to, knock on wood, an opportunity to walk through those doors again, because it's uh, you don't just go out those doors. You have to have a mission, because I feel like the hall deserves it. And so you think
Hmm.
about like the bigger picture things, like you don't play Carnegie Hall like another gig. Whereas you go to Birdland and you want to nail it because it should be really loose and really alive. And you love the
Hmm.
owner. I know the owners of these clubs. And when you come in, you want to look great and like kill it and also be on time. Right.
Yep.
So there's certain things, but you don't come to Carnegie Hall like thinking like I'm just going to keep the club moving tonight and make it really hot and exciting. It's Carnegie Hall. They don't need you. You want to make a contribution there. So I
Hmm.
found myself thinking about my essence, the little girl, and who she is. And I sang from My Fair Lady, I sang Sondheim, and I wore the most beautiful dress I'd ever bought in my life. I mean, I spent so much money on the gown. I just felt like I had to bring it up a notch and I couldn't figure out what to wear. So I just went and I bought a dress that Kate Middleton wore at the Cannes Film Festival. And I
Wow.
just went and bought it. My husband and I was like, I can't find a dress. I can't find a dress. He goes, well, damn it, just go buy a dress. So now, I wore it to pieces now, because I have to keep using things. But it was so special that I just went for it, and I'm happy I did. So that's an evening I'll never forget. I did play the Grand Rex in Paris, which is one of the most enormous places I've ever played. The expectation there was, you see, Michel Legrand had died, and I wrote his obituary, and the French community, the best people in the world, in instrumental world, like Sylvain Luc, Birelli Legrand, all these great instrumentalists, and even Nana Mouskouri came from Greece.
Hmm.
It was a shocking environment of excellence in jazz. I was invited because I had written in New York. I'd written, and they liked what I said. So his family and community were like Melissa Errico, disait, une actrice à Broadway avec la voix diamante. And she writes, for the New York Times. Like they loved that I wrote and cared and had this. They were so kind about my voice, and that I starred in his show on Broadway. I felt esteemed by another country, and that was really. I was backstage, and I was sort of. I wanted to be so French, and I wanted to show respect, and I wanted to be a visitor from America and honor Michel and show them that Americans are altered forever by his art. So again, I was like, I think this is what you're asking. Like, what are the
Hmm.
venues that like really trip you out? I stood backstage. I wore a black um, pants kind of dress, like very simple, because French people don't overdress. And I was going to put fake eyelashes on, and they were like, "Do not wear fake eyelashes. They don't do that in France." I was like, "Oh, okay." It's all like more natural. So I was learning from the other artists what it is to make music. It's more personal, and like you should be more plain. And so I
Hmm.
wore this pants thing. I had no bra, which to me felt weird. But the French are like that too. They don't want everything pushed up and all fancy. So it's like, okay. And I just had to ask myself, like, what's my natural love of Michel Legrand, right? My father in Vietnam and their love of his music, it reached all the way to Brooklyn in the 60s to a bunch of Italians, you know?
Hmm.
And so I wanted to be an ambassador of that love, bring it back in an artistic way. And I think, it's a very masculine environment. Paris, a lot of power, a lot
Hmm.
of agents and men in suits and language. And, it's very intense. It's a very masculine world. There's women and there's men in France. And so I stood backstage and I just held my own, like, like a little more masculine than I normally am. I wanted to show like I deserve to be here. And I loved Michelle as much as you guys, and I'm going to hang tonight. And it worked. It worked. It went like exceptionally well. I sang, I got a wonderful response. And then when I left, this Francois Lacharme, who's a great journalist like yourself in France, he writes for Jazz Magazine. He said, wasn't that wonderful to have Melissa Errico here? I was already gone, and the audience erupted again,
Wow.
and I wasn't on stage. And I took that as such a sign of success and recognition that I had sort of tapped into the requirements of the venue and the moment. So that I was very proud of. And Cadogan Hall I did this summer, which is London. I've always wanted to play there. And it was my debut in a concert hall in London, not in the clubs. But I did it with the Ronnie Scott's Jazz Band. They're
Hmm.
they're the famous jazz club. I brought them to a concert hall and I did Sondheim with a little kind of New York nightclub sound
Hmm.
as all his city songs. And what I was trying to do was bring Manhattan to London. And I had to really hold my ground. I'm not trying to be a British star or the best actress you've
Right.
ever, I'm not uh, Maggie Smith or whatever, but I'm going to bring you the New York energy of a lifer theater person who loves and lives by Sondheim's wisdom and plays it with her own looseness that she's developed over time. Like it's a whole kind of thing I wanted to give that's really unique to me and basically give them a feeling of a New Yorker in their town. In
Hmm.
New York, I'm often considered, My Fair Lady, the British, bringing the British to New York,
Right.
weirdly. So, but my goal this summer was to really give that New York energy, a woman in her midlife who's kind of at her best, or I hope, or
Hmm.
whatever, as good as I'm going to get. And I think we succeeded. My father, I know you can relate to this. My father had a big setback just days before they opened the show, a
Oh,
big
wow.
fall, and he'd gotten injured. And I hadn't slept in days, and I was worried about my father. So what got affect that performance was affected by my admiration for London, this desire to push all this New York energy into the show, and then this weird vulnerability that we're all just people, and my dad's sick, and I got to do a show, and I got to get home. So oddly, Stephen Sondheim's music helped me because Stephen Sondheim's music is not all about one strength. It's about strength and weakness always at the same time.
Hmm.
Like, so I was more vulnerable, more lost, more uncertain about how it was all going to go than I might have been had I not had a shock right before. So the good news is I was able to give a really good show, got a standing ovation. I did what I set out to do. The bad news is it wasn't quite the night I was hoping for. I was worried backstage. I was tired. I even closed my eyes for 5 minutes before the performance, like to have a nap. like in a gown with gorgeous hair. The guy who does Diana Ross did my hair. And I literally closed my eyes for a few minutes just to survive. So it wasn't exactly the like fun I was hoping to have, but the art worked. So sometimes we don't always have the ideal night, but the art works.
Yeah, and but to your credit, to be able to adapt, to be able to, you know, I hate to reduce it down to this, but to think on your feet,
Yeah.
to be able to categorize, to compartmentalize in such a way that helped you push through.
I'll
And
tell you, the way I did it is I went note by note. I didn't even think of the song. I was just in each moment. It made me more aware of like, it started out like a song. And I'd like live there. I know the music so well that I didn't have to think of the next thing. It started quiet and slow. I was just living everything. It was like life became so precious. So it was a good education, and I'm mature enough to say, well, this is what you got to bring tonight, so bring it.
you feel like it meant more to you as you were doing that because of the backdrop that no one else knew about even but you and your close circle. Did you feel like it brought you were able to interpret it and deliver it in a different way than you had before?
Yeah, it was just a little more vulnerable than I had planned, and yet the work was under there, and the work couldn't be hidden because the work was there. Like I'd gotten
Right.
the level was so high of like what I know and what I was gonna do, and I was still able to meet that level. So my preparation was there for me.
Right.
So I couldn't go down, I don't just live by inspiration and just random, like I hope whatever comes out of my mouth is going to be interesting. I do, like a writer, I do think about what I'm going to say. And so the
Right.
show has a point. I was still, nobody took that script out of my mouth. It still was spoke. But so my preparation was something I learned is there for you,
Hmm.
as an,
Broadway came through for you.
yeah, structure.
Yep,
Structure,
exactly.
structure. And the costumes were good. And um, uh, uh, I had a choir, and the children knew about my father, and they were singing the song Somewhere. There's a
Oh, wow.
place for us somewhere. And it became very profound because all these children came out. They were college students, and they were singing uh, with more emotion. I said to them in rehearsal, you're carrying me tonight. I thought I'd carry you, but tonight you're beautiful you and you're beautiful. I need you tonight. And we're going to pray together in the song. And they were so moved that, and then the rest of the show, I heard the children were crying, sitting up in the balcony watching because they knew what I was doing. So it became a good thing for a huge group of students, of 50 students. It became a good lesson for them. I got little tears in my eyes now.
Yep.
So,
I'm
so
sorry.
no, no, it's okay. It was good. It was good. It's hard to see your parents weak.
Yeah, yeah. Believe me, I know all too well. When my dad slid into dementia, I've told people it was like raising a 10-year-old child again. And in some ways, my dad was always so stoic when I was growing up that I got to see what I feel is the other side, the way he was as a kid. Um, he'd sit and watch westerns all day towards the end, and we called each other Lone Ranger and Tano and things like that. So to see him vulnerable, the man that raised, he and my mom raised my sister and I and provided and all that, to have the role reversal. I mean, it creates a vulnerability in us as the caregiver and
Yeah.
as the one watching them slowly depart us. It takes you to a different place. It really does.
Well, you're ahead of me in that. I'm just at the beginning of what that is. He's actually kind of sturdy again at the moment, but um, sort of, yeah. So anyhow, so music and life actually for me are working well together.
Good.
I worked this summer on a play with Alec Baldwin. He was playing
I
Scott.
saw that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
playing Scott Fitzgerald, and I was playing Zelda. And Zelda was a frustrated artist. For anyone who doesn't know, F. Scott Fitzgerald, who wrote The Great Gatsby and Tender as the Night and all those great books, was married to Zelda Fitzgerald, who was a frustrated artist. And she could never find herself, find her voice. And she ended up in mental institutions and all this stuff. It was unbelievable. So I played her. And then after that play, I've now spent 4 months working with Randy Waldman and all of Barbra Streisand's, well, not all her musicians, but her pianists for 45 years, and developing a show about her. She's the opposite of Zelda Fitzgerald. She's the most realized woman artist. She's stood her ground. She's Barbara. There's no person ever was like her. She's incomprehensibly perfect. And everything is at such a high level. It was so interesting that in just a course of a short period of time, I had to walk into Zelda's mind, do this play with this great actor, and then now spend all this time admiring Barbra Streisand's ability to support herself and use her beautiful natural voice and make, really make it evergreen body of work. So I like the topics I choose. I sort of choose a topic, explore the music. I've made a lot of albums of Sondheim's work, Michel Legrand's work. I'm probably not going to make a Streisand must say her name correctly, Streisand songbook. But every time I explore things for concerts, I spend a good amount of time thinking about those selections and doing a tribute to her, which is what I'm working on right now. It's going to happen all through this winter and into 2026. I hope that my Streisand concert will let other women and men think about the permission that her success gives us to look for and find maybe our own voices.
Yeah. Well, like you, she was also an actress and a singer. And, I think you probably, I mean, I don't know, but I'm surmising that you probably can relate to her, especially well, because of those similarities, and I don't know if you had diversity like she did, but, just being in the career in a male dominated world, all that kind of stuff, and what the challenges you both faced.
Yeah, I have my stuff, and my mother went to high school with her at Erasmus High in Brooklyn.
Oh, wow.
And we're Italians from Brooklyn, and I have a couple of psychic things like in her psychic world that I can relate to. The frustrated mother artist, in her case, her father was completely absent, but I do have some sensitivity for the complexities in her, as I also shared those with some ways with Stephen Sondheim. I can kind of understand the wounds, that lead to their greatness without maybe without their greatness maybe, but I respect so much the art that comes out of each person's story, and I just hope that by exploring her work, and I'll just get stronger and clearer in myself and continue to, obviously elevate her already very elevated legacy. Very proud of the work I'm doing because I think I'm doing it with good intentions.
Well, tell me about this album you've got coming out. I love it. I've got to listen to it a bit, and I'm blown away by it. Tell me what brought you to that concept of, behind I Can Dream, Can I? And what made now the right time to make that record? And because I read, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. You can set it up even more if you like. But what this is I've been working with Ted Firth, who's one jazz pianist. I've been working with him for a really long time. I mean, it's at least 15 years. And he's the one who came with me to some of these great venues that I was talking about, especially that London concert. He played so beautifully, and he plays Sondheim so beautifully. He's a jazz guy. He said, we've done so many albums together. He said, someday I'd love to do an album with no producer, where we just go into the studio with songs we love and just see what happens, just between us, because there's a lot of unspoken emotion that we have gotten used to. He feels me when I'm going to sing Send in the Clowns. He feels me when I'm singing a Michel Legrand song that's super sexy and wandering, and he'll just do things and I'll do things, and it's just, we know the music so well, so I'll extend my voice. He'll put a lot of chords under it. I won't use vibrato because his chords are so interesting. Then he'll stop, and then I'll vibrato and finish it, and then there'll be a pause. Then we'll start again. And none of that's scripted. None of it is discussed. We don't have to. So we have this relationship for a long time with very, very beautiful, beautiful music. But he would like to go into the studio someday, he said, with basically with no parent, like 2 kids. Can we just go and play, So
Home Alone.
Home Alone. Exactly. This is Home Alone. So this is our Home Alone. Ted Firth always wanted to make this album in that way, like we were saying, Home Alone. So yes, this is a kind of Home Alone version of a recording, because the kids got to do what they wanted to do. So we went into the studio with 18 songs. The week before, Ted showed up at my house with 58 songs, which he thought would sound great. So I know it was the longest day or two of my life. I remember just the pile of music, because I did print them out. And we went through all these songs, and as we curated them, I could see each song why he thought it was like an interesting, maybe used to be a good song on you kind of thing. It's almost like for decades he'd been waiting to hand me these 58 songs. And I took 18 of them and I said, I love. And I gave it some thought, after but not much thought, like a week. I learned the melodies. We go into the studio. We did 1, 2, 3 takes. That's it. Move on to the next one. And we were just exploring. We were not planning an album. But I always said to him, as he had this idea that he wanted the freedom to play the piano as he wishes and just do whatever he wants to do, I always wanted to have an album cover that looked like Peggy Lee and George Shearing. I don't even know if I can quickly call this up, but I've always told him that someday, Ted, I'm going to put you on the cover and we're going to look just like Peggy Lee and George Shearing. A girl and her, here it is, a girl and her pianist. And that's just going to be who we are.
Oh my goodness. You guys had it almost exact.
Okay. Now what you got to see is that her left hand, she has a pearl bracelet.
Yeah.
Her right arm is tucked into the piano. It's shot from above. You see the font and the colors.
Right.
We had 15 minutes at the studio in the Bronx, New York, in like an area called Fleetwood. We had 15 minutes because I was paying for the studio. So I got a guy to come with a camera. I put on this old-fashioned dress. I put a thing on my left wrist, pearls. I bundled my hair a little bit old school. And I asked my friend Matt, who is a piano player and a photographer, I said, Matt, you have to stand on a chair because you need to look down. That's how Peggy Lee's was. So he's like, okay. And he stood on a chair and I tucked my elbow in and I'm like this, like, ta-da. And Ted is at the piano and that's it. In 15 minutes, we got the cover. And
my goodness.
It was, I'm sure hers was a little more curated, but yet, we have a little bit of a roll up your sleeves attitude, if you haven't noticed. So we did it. And so I was able to get the cover I always wanted, which was that we could be like Peggy Lee and George Shearing. It's quite nice that the Peggy Lee Foundation has been sharing and forwarding my music online. It's very touching.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
Yeah, they recognized the cover instantly on the first day. Yeah.
No attorneys got a hold of you or anything, huh?
No attorney. So we ended up, putting together these songs. A lot of them come from the 30s and the 40s. And what happens with me is when you give me gorgeous songs, these are all gorgeous songs. They're, I would say, of standards, they're not standard. They're songs that people go, oh, what is that? Oh, who did that? There's no definitive Ella Fitzgerald. These are all in the cracks. It's Jerome Kern, it's Irving Berlin, it's Oscar Hammerstein with this, and it's a lot of these are the greats, but these are like little quirky, magical chats. It almost feels like
Hmm.
I called it conversations and illusions from the Great American Songbook. I think they all sound like um, uh, whispered confidences. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Whispered, like I can, like you would just, like things you would
It's a
say,
secret,
secrets,
private.
private, secrets, private. And I thought because I'm just alone with Ted that this would work. There's a kind of, I say he's accompanying me. Is he there? Is he my mind? Is he underlining my loneliness? Or is he my person I'm talking to at different times? It allowed for a whole range of intimacy and conversation between the voice and the piano, me and the
Hmm.
person I might be talking to, Ted in that magical way that's accompanying the singer or uh, speaking for me if I'm with feeling if the song is pained, he might play the pain. Anyway, this is what me and Ted do. It's trippy, and I thought it came out beautiful. And they're really just sessions. They were done freely. There's no doctoring to them. We couldn't comp them because you can't put together things that are done like this. It would be crazy. You can't take some weird,
You would be able to tell just because,
it would be
yeah,
crazy. Yeah. You
yeah,
can't take one and mush it with take three. Like that would just be a mess. So we just got to the good one and then we'd move on. Um,
yeah.
or maybe we got past the good one and we used the take two. Um, so we have this sequence of songs, and I feel that you can, this is what happens with me, is that I tend to draw things and then a story happens in my head. And I feel there's a movie here of two kindred souls in my age group, a friendship, a something, a little Sondheimian, a little bit impossible love. Um, all the songs seem to be saying that the future in this relationship is uncertain. But
Mm.
God, is it fun? And it's almost like I'm undoing myself. I shouldn't be doing this, but I keep doing it. It's a little bit of uh, the complexity of things reminds me of Sondheim's work later. It's almost like predictive of the sophistication of Sondheim. Um,
Hmm.
it's sophisticated in its own right, but this is the stuff that Sondheim was listening to. This is the stuff he grew up hearing, for sure. He
Hmm.
said so. And in some cases, the songs on my album occur on a list that Sondheim wrote called Songs I Wished I'd Written.
Oh,
That was
wow.
it was published in the Smithsonian, yeah, museum. You can go and see the list. It's very easy to find online. But uh, he wished he'd written When in Rome and Lost in His Arms. I believe that this is the world that made him go, I could write tricky melodies about tricky people who are super smart and love the English language. I know this was the field of poppies, that he walked around and dreamed to. I have said that these are the field of poppies that from which sprang Sondheim's opium.
Mm.
Yeah, I've kind of said that. I thought that was actually pretty lasting line or something for at least for me. I'm in the American Songbook, and then as this goes on, Ted had also handed me a Dori Caymmi song with the lyrics by the Bergmans, and the Bergmans mean a lot to me because of Michel Legrand. So I've worked with them a bunch, and I was like, oh, I got to do a Bergman song that feels so good to have on there, but not a Legrand song. So I stay in the American Songbook, but. But so the Like a Lover is this tasty, delicious, lovey, sexy song. But when we got to the Joni Mitchell song, it's all about conversations and illusions. I've looked at life from both sides now. It's life's
Mhm.
illusions I recall, and maybe the illusions of the Great American Songbook.
Mhm.
All the dreams, like somebody like me who comes up in the theater and wants Rogers and Hart, like I lived in this fairyland. Maybe those are my life's illusions that Joni's talking about. And she says, I really don't know life at all in that song. And so I thought, I'm definitely going to have that late. It's going to be like a coda to this album. And then,
Right.
and then Ted brought me that song "Listen Here" by Frischberg from,
Mhm.
and that song is not a, a song from the early songbook. It's very end of the 70s, and that song says, "You got to listen here." It's like it's so whatever. So for me, I felt it could be the end of a great love story that hopefully that person left you better and closer to your own voice, to your own self. And you're quite like you become your own best friend,
Yeah.
even though you can't have the person.
Yep.
You learn to be talk to yourself. You learn to talk to yourself. You learn to have. So "Listen Here" is a song I cannot wait for listeners to hear because I think it's the resolve of this whole journey of all the fun and the sexy and the this and the wanting and the can't have and the blah, 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 whatever that means for you in your map, roadmap, labyrinth. I think the last song should hopefully feel like wise and I told my daughters, I said, you got to listen to the last song on Mom's record and live it, you know. So I have a bonus track that I think takes it back to that sort of Noel Coward movie, and that's "After You, Who Could Supply My Eyes of Blue." That's a Cole Porter song. After you, who could I love? Like what am I going to do next? It's a funny coda that makes you feel almost like Charlie Chaplin's walking down the road and he's looking for the next adventure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Was there a specific song or moment during the making of the album that you realize would serve as the emotional centerpiece, the one that kind of made you say, "This is what this album's really all about."
It's the title track. I can dream, can't I? Because no matter what you've got or don't got, you have your illusions. You can dream. And I think it is a kind of strangely grown up album. You know, we are not made up of neat, happy endings, you
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
moons and Junes and all that stuff that's in a lot of these songs. I chose ones where spring will be a little late this year.
Hmm.
It's like all those kind of thoughts. I went looking for grown-up thoughts. Um, you gotta, if you're gonna be an artist for a long time, you can't be apologizing for growing up. You have to use your maturity as a tool. And I am a illusionist in a way. So I'm not really gonna become a hard, wizened actress. I just don't want to do that. I think I want to stay in the world of dreams, but I would do it with those beautiful melancholy words. But then Ted plays the dream, you see? So he just encourages me. You see, he doesn't make me a realist. If I say, I can dream, can't I? And then Ted plays and I'm just like drunk. And he's like my vice.
Hmm.
Music is like my vice, or it's an escape. And I hope that maybe watching us trip out might be good for people. Like hopefully we create some vibration that uh, feels right in terms of bringing retro music to a contemporary vulnerability that we all are going through. We're all going through really hard times, like the world and values and truth and AI and what's beautiful and real. And like it's really hard to even get music made now, to be honest.
Yep. Yep. It is, and expensive. One final question for you. because I know we're on a timeline here, and I want to be respectful of it. What album, if before you ever quit, and you've got a long way to go before you quit making music, what album would you like to make that you haven't made yet?
Well, I do want to make a third Sondheim album. I do want to finish this that sort of project as a trilogy. And in a weird way, this is almost like looking at Sondheim's influences or the sound of his youth.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I do want to make a third album. I have the idea that it'll be called Consequences.
Hmm.
So, but I don't think I'm old enough for the album I have in mind. The album I have in mind is to take a look at my father's side of the family that left Italy and they went to Argentina. And I'm very interested in looking at our family lineage, where everybody ended up. And as I look at Broadway music, like Ladies Who Lunch from Broadway, the top left, it says Bossa Nova. And I have this idea to do an album called Broadway Bossa, or Broadway Bossa Sorta Nova, because I can't really say that I'm a bossa singer, but a lot of bossa is in Broadway. And I really think it could be sexy with a colorful dress, and I could put fruit on my head and everybody could be happy.
Carmen Miranda.
Exactly. I think I have something really joyful in my imagination that's just in a seedling form. The other thing that's very much on my mind is would be competitive with that, which is that last week Peter Yarrow's memorial happened, and Judy Collins sang, and Joan Baez was a part of it, and I sang with Noel Stookey from Peter, Paul, and Mary. He's known as Paul, and we sang "The Water Is Wide" at the memorial, and it was world-class event. And I started to realize that there's a lot of good American music, like Americana music. Maybe you could help me with this, to be honest. You probably could send me a set list. But there was a singer named Jo Stafford. I think it's Columbia Records. She took all those Shenandoahs and Water is Wide, really beautiful American songs. You could take a look at a diverse addition, I'm sure, to her songbook. But get a look at American music, Americana, and maybe try to restore some essential folky love of the country.
There's a market for it. Americana's alive and well, and I think there's a good market for that. And I love Noel Paul Stookey. Man, I remember for a while he was doing Christian music back in the early '80s. I remember that well. But he's somebody I would love to just, even if it wasn't an official interview, just to chat with him for a minute would be a big highlight for me. But
well, I could probably set that up.
Well, I would love that. Please.
I could probably set that up. Yeah,
I'd owe you big time for that. I would give you another one of these. So
well, I'm very, that night was so extraordinary, and I was working with Gordon Titcomb on pedal steel, and then 6-string guitar, and it was so beautiful, and I felt so like I just love folk music, and I love the idea of somehow forwarding a love of our country and doing it in a way that's just music, history, but then just somehow I even spoke to Judy Collins and I said, would you ever do you produce records? And she looked at me and she said, I would.
There you go.
I don't know. Maybe I should call her. I've been intimidated since.
Do it. Do it. She could. That alone would help it sell. So
yeah, who knows? I just don't know if she would do it. But I'm interested in what just happened at that memorial, and I'm interested in our country in any way that I could sing my love of history. Maybe I could help people love our country and sing and I don't know, just make it feel good and get some great people together who love America.
That would be fun. I would love to talk to you about it if you make that happen, and if I can help you make that happen, I might know a person or two that would like to be part of it. So that would be a name, so. But Melissa, this is a lot of fun. Let's not be strangers. Let's talk again whenever you have a project going that you want help getting the word out. I'll do my part on it. We'll set one of these up and we'll we'll chat again. And I'll route this backdrop to Anna to be able to get it to you. So if you want to use it, feel free to. It'd be my gift to you.
Oh my goodness, it's very fancy. Thank you. It makes me feel very, yeah. See, I'm upgrading every day.
So am I. So, well, Melissa, thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you again down the road soon, I hope.
Stay in touch. I really enjoyed meeting you. I'm actually going to miss you.
Well, you can always watch my interviews on YouTube, so.
Good. Well, I'll join your fan base. Nice to meet you.
Please do. Likewise. Take care. Bye-bye. This has been another fun-filled episode of Boomerocity with your host and producer, Randy Patterson. The theme song is Roll the Dice and is recorded and used by permission from Quinton Hope. Quinton is spelled Quinten, and Hope is Hope. And you can find out more about Quinton at quintonhope.com. Post-production is done by Cardinal Sins Productions. The Boomerocity name, logo, and content is copyright protected. Segments may only be used with written permission by Boomerocity and or its assignees. Inquiries should be directed to input@boomerocity.com. Copyright 2025.